This season was certainly something. The chaos was abundant and the upsets plenty, but we have finally arrived at the conference championship week. Let's not waste any time and break it down. So much for being a playoff dark horse, eh? I would say Army versus Tulane was going to be a potential spot in the field of 12, but Army got hit by an Irish subway train in New York, and Tulane's green wave turned into a green mirage at the hands of Memphis last week. That said, this is still an interesting matchup. Army ran through the American like a buzzsaw this season and deployed a ground offensive that would make General Grant blush. Bryson Daly on his own has accounted for 1,200 yards and 23 touchdowns on the ground this season, while Kanye Udo has about 900 yards and 9 touchdowns. All told, they average about 33 points per game. On defense, Andon Thomas, Elo Madzi, and Caleb Fortner have been causing chaos all season alongside Casey Larkin at D-back and Jaden Mays at cornerback getting 3 interceptions each. What's unique is they still have to play Navy on the 16th, which means there's some chance that Army could get caught looking ahead against their rivals. Tulane may have gotten pantsed by a sneaky good Memphis team, but their offense has been better overall than Army. At 2,500 passing yards and 20 touchdowns, Darian Mensah has been a solid quarterback this season for the Green Wave. While I'm very pissed off that it took an underrated Memphis team to knock y'all out of the playoffs because the damn football gods demanded more suffering for the fucking Green Wave, I think that Tulane should win this game and the American Championship. Just get your defense in shape for the love of God. All aboard the Pony Express, motherfucker. SMU went from being considered a downgrade for the ACC to making the conference title in its first season. I knew this team was cooking something good after their performance last year. Also, the traffic jam of Brinks trucks being unloaded on Gerald Ford Stadium was pretty hard to ignore. It wasn't just the stadium that got upgraded, though. A good chunk went into NIL, and the Mustangs booted up the 1983 simulator. This is the best SMU team since the days before the death penalty, and no doubt this is also the best football team in Dallas right now. Clemson could sure use some help right now in the transfer and NIL business, and it seems Dabo is finally going to turn a corner and look to utilize it this offseason. But for now, there's business to handle, like not trying to get beat up by the new kid on the block. Clemson is lucky as hell they even made it here. If it wasn't for Miami's late season collapse, they wouldn't be. From being curb stomped by Georgia to sniped by Louisville, Clemson is far from a powerhouse these days. Despite that, if they can just upset SMU, holy shit, Clemson beating SMU would be an upset, then all past pain may be forgiven, until they get mauled by Penn State or some shit. Oregon is going to win. The only question is by how much. Sure, the Ducks have had its moments this season, especially against Wisconsin, where they barely escaped another late season letdown. But this team is filled with talent and momentum after getting revenge on Washington and has one goal in mind: age my Oregon Duck roast video like milk. Oh, wait, no, it's to win the national title. Duh. They're all in, and frankly, I don't see a way Penn State stops them. The only team that I thought had a yeah, let's not talk about it again. Enjoy the extra game, Penn State. Who knows, maybe you win and fuck out the playoffs entirely. Neither of you really deserve to be here. You simply survived. Kansas went on its Joker arc and managed to blow up the standings so bad we had a 4-way tie for first, with 9 teams still in the running for the title game. When the dust settled, the Devils and Cyclones remained. Thus, Jerry World becomes home to a clash of 2 teams on different paths. Arizona State seemingly popped up out of nowhere a month ago and ended up with the statement wins against Kansas State, BYU, as well as reducing Arizona to atoms. If you want to make an opposing team shit their pants, you simply whisper 2 words into their ear: Cam Scatterbo. With nearly 1,400 yards rushing and 17 touchdowns, the dude is the actual fucking devil to defensive coordinators. Sam Levitt is also having himself a great season, with 21 touchdowns on 2,400 yards passing. Did I mention Levitt is a goddamn freshman? Half of those tutties and yards were also to wide receiver Jordan Tyson. That said, this Devil's pitchfork may not be strong enough to outlast one man: Rocco fucking Becht. Iowa State lives and dies by the pass, but with 3,000 yards and 20 touchdowns, it's hard to argue he's a powerful weapon on Iowa State's offense. Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel split targets, yet both are at 1,000 yards receiving this year. I like Iowa State's chances more than Arizona State personally, but I fully expect this to be a bar fight until the bitter end. How fitting, since that was pretty much the entire conference for the last month. Welcome back to this year's exciting championship game spectacular. The fucking Who Gives a Shit Conference Championship. Come one, come all, for the winner takes home the prize of a well-used toilet seat for a trophy and a spot in the fucking Who Gives a Shit Bowl. Sponsored by Go Fuck Yourself. This conference continues to die slowly, but on life support, it remains for now as we mull over this little matchup. Weirdly enough, these two just played each other this past Saturday. Western Kentucky was able to beat the Cock 19-17 with a last-second field goal. It was a very close affair. Both teams went neck and neck the entire way. The key for this game is who will win on defense. Jacksonville State lost because their offense was stonewalled for the entire second half, except for a single drive in the fourth quarter. Rich Rodriguez and company will now have plenty of film to watch in order to find a way through this defense this week. With this game taking place in Jacksonville State's home field, I like the Gamecocks, but Caden Veldkamp is a fucking beast of a quarterback, and Jacksonville State's not going to be able to shut him down for a second week in a row. Expect another close one on Friday night. Hey, look, Miami did make a conference title game. Wait, nope, wrong Miami. There we go. In all seriousness, this is another rematch from earlier this season. One that Miami was victorious in by a score of 30-20. Ohio does have a damn good defense, but Miami's quarterback Brett Gabbert torched them in their last game, throwing 3 touchdowns and rushing on the ground for 116 yards. Meanwhile, Ohio's quarterback was fucking benched after throwing 2 picks. Ohio and Miami may both be on 5-game win streaks, but the Red Hawks are looking likely to repeat as champs in my view. They are far superior to the Bobcats. UNLV lost to Boise State once already this year. Granted, it was a close score when the final whistle blew, but Genty's slow night at the office, 128 yards and a touchdown by the way, didn't do as much to damage UNLV as the penalties they inflicted on themselves, especially late in the fourth quarter. If you think all UNLV needs to do is stop the run, then you clearly forgot that behind the hype of a potential Heisman running back in Boise State, the Broncos have made a damn good quarterback in Maddox Munson. 21 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. He doesn't fucking miss. With the game taking place in the frozen fortress of Boise State, I think the Broncos will punch their ticket to the playoffs on Friday night. But it will be a tough game. Considering the collapse of the top American Conference teams, this is the de facto qualifying game for the Group of 5 playoff spot.
It's pretty much going down on the 45. So you can tell me this is 55. On and away. It's good. On the way. It is good.
I'd say this was a great moment for the Pac-12 or the Pac-2 or whatever the fuck you want to call this pack of teams. But Oregon State wins the conference, yet doesn't get to go bowling because they fucking suck. Dear God, what has happened to my beloved Pac-12?
It's still real to me, damn it!
They say the sequel is never as good as the original, but considering the first game was a massive flop at the box office, I'm hoping this is a little better and results in less trash thrown on the field. Frankly, in that first game, both teams played like that fucking trash, as they were turning the ball over non-stop. Georgia did run out to a 23-0 lead while Texas kinda tried to come back, but really just played like drunken muppets. Overall, Quinn Ewers got hurt and Arch Manning's test run stirred up so many bullshit rumors, Stephen A. Smith's head about exploded with joy. Texas has put out some rather questionable performances since though. Not just the loss to Georgia, but also playing down to competition against Vanderbilt and Arkansas. Still, there's no denying the talent this team has. Already mentioned Ewers and Manning, who is the backup quarterback and can come in for special packages. But Isaiah Bond, Gunnar Helm, Quintrevion Wisner, they have all been extremely valuable to the Longhorns down the stretch. They found a way to win, and win by a few scores in these games. But I feel they haven't even played up to their full potential yet. Georgia, on the other hand, is not improving at all. They've gone stagnant. Sure, they beat Texas once, but ever since then, they have lost to Ole Miss and played like shit against UMass before escaping with their goddamn lives against Georgia Tech. Don't look at the scores for the UMass game, by the way. Just look at the overall stats. Depending on the given Saturday, Carson Beck either plays in peak form or NFL stage Jamarcus Russell. In order for Georgia to beat Texas, the offense needs to play a perfect game. With everything I've seen this season, I don't fucking think that's going to happen. Expect an air show here, guys. Louisiana ranks 18th in the nation with average yards on offense at 445, while Marshall has scored at least 4 touchdowns per game in their last 6. That said, Louisiana has done that as well in their last 9 games, and their quarterback, Ben Woolridge, has thrown 2,400 yards for 17 touchdowns this season. With Louisiana also having a trio of deadly running backs in the backfield behind him, it'll be the Cajuns thundering the herd for the Sun Belt Championship the entire game. Be ready for Sunday for Selection Sunday. We'll be doing a live stream here on the YouTube channel to go over the upcoming playoff matchups, and a full college football playoff breakdown video will come out sometime in the next week after the playoff matchups are announced. Till then, thank you for watching. If you like what I do here, subscribe to the channel, like and share the video, tell your friends, and join the Red Army. I'll see you guys later.